You are not a therapist. You are not a savior. You are not necessarily going to be the one that's going to help them. Hi, my name is L.A.L.Y.L, and this is Live a Life You Love, the podcast where I help you go from simply surviving to thriving by teaching you how to manage your emotions and thoughts, and then using that information to create momentum in your life. We are finally back with season 2. I missed you guys. I missed engaging and talking to you guys, but we have a great lineup this season for you. So we're going to jump right into it. Now I'm going to start off by having a conversation based off of a topic that I would have spoken about, but someone left a very interesting comment that I thought was necessary for us to build on. And that comment was they don't think that after trust is broken that it can actually be rebuilt. Now the thing is with trust is I understand where that comes from. One of the hardest things to recover from is when your trust is broken, whether in a romantic relationship, whether on work with family, friends. One of the things that make us feel safe in relationships is trust. So when that is broken, it is very difficult to even think that you can rebuild some semblance of a normal relationship with the person. So we want to talk about that today. Do you think that trust can be rebuilt when it's broken? Now, here's my perspective from an emotional intelligence coach and as well as just existing in the space of being a human. So here's the problem with us sticking to that statement that trust cannot be rebuilt once it's broken. We are going to make mistakes as humans. As long as we're going to exist with each other, as long as we're going to communicate, we are going to do things that are going to cause trust to be broken. The problem is a lot of the people sometimes in our lives who break that trust are not people that can be cut out of our lives. Because the truth of it is, if we cut out everybody who has broken our trust, then we will end up alone. And contrary to sometimes that narrative that we can live life alone, we were built for community. I understand that some of our experiences and even our settings don't allow us to be surrounded by lots of people, but we are built for community. So what do we do where you have an instance where the person has who has broken your trust has to remain in your life, or you want them to remain in your life, and cutting off is not possible? Or what about the scenario where you are trying to decide, should I cut this person off or should I allow them to stay in my life? So I want to present to you three simple thoughts that you can use to observe whether or not this person should be cut off, or you need to give them another chance or another opportunity to redeem themselves so that they can be a part of your life. Now, the first thing I want you to look for in terms of should I keep trusting this person is what are their usual patterns? People have patterns. By patterns, I simply mean if you're around people long enough, you would notice that they have a way of doing certain things. Just because, however, you have been around somebody for a very long time, it doesn't mean that you were observing them objectively or with your eyes wide open. Like I like to say, you could be around somebody for years and not notice things about them. So in this scenario, if you're dealing with somebody and you think that that trust has been broken, here's what I want you to do. Observe what their usual pattern is. The reason for this is you want to know if this is something that is a commonality with them, this is something that has become a habit. Is it a part of who they are that they keep making mistakes like this? They keep making slip ups like this. Is it actually a part of who they are? So is it a pattern that you need to be taking mind of, sorry. So here's the thing with observing patterns. You have to give it time. People always show who they are. I think it's Maya Angelou that says, when someone tells you who you are, believe them. So that means that people are going to reveal themselves to you. However, to add to that statement, you need to give people time to reveal themselves. Patterns are built over a course of time. So in 1 week, in 2 weeks, sometimes in a few months, you're not going to see that. You see, especially in a romantic setting, people just pretend for a little while. So the pattern can take a little while to unravel. So that's why I say you have to give it time. So if you're going to observe this person's pattern, you have to give it time to unravel. So the reason why I say that is it an isolated event or is it a pattern? You see this person has repeatedly been like this, or was this an isolated one-off event? Which leads to my second thing that or thought that I want you to have, which is based on this, is it a character flaw that brought this person to break your trust, or was it a bad judgment call or moment? Now, here's the thing, those two are not the same. So, a character flaw is when something is morally off with somebody. Their core values are not rock solid, or they don't live by those core values and a core system. So, that's people who you can't tell they lack integrity, they lack honesty, they lack truth. You understand? So, that character flaw is something that you have to be mindful of, because can you really put your trust in somebody who does not live a life of honesty? Can you really keep somebody around who isn't loyal? And so when you're dealing with somebody who, based on the trust that hasn't been broken, is because of their character. Is there somebody who naturally is just not a nice person? Their character isn't speaking for them. They are not upstanding citizens. People who have a character flaw are people that you have to step away from. You do not want to have people, especially in your inner circles, who they have a character flaw. So that is one element. Now the versus to that is, did that person have a bad moment? Listen, the people in our lives, as much as we like to live life through our lens, people in our lives are going through a lot. There are people who have trauma sitting on their chest. There are people who are fighting with different kind of demons. There are people who are sitting in homes with some difficult situations, and sometimes they don't know how to regulate. Sometimes they don't know how to cope. And so when you have all of that building and all of that sitting on your chest, sometimes you're going to have moments where you act out of turn. So people who've had a bad moment or a judgment call that wasn't the best, or a weak moment, you have to be willing to step back and say, you know what, this person had a bad moment, but based on the pattern which we talked about in the first part, this is not who they usually are. Yeah, the man maybe had a bad moment. The woman maybe had a bad moment. And so are you going to really excommunicate somebody because in a moment they had a weakness? And so this also, and I would like to input this, is that also means that you have to be empathetic. Are you really aware of what the people in your circles, what they're going through? You might know details, but can you tell if you're in a season where a friend might be having a hard time? And so because they're having a hard time, they may be more prone to respond in a way that doesn't match who they are, doesn't match their character, and it doesn't match their pattern. Now, I know somebody is saying, but Kel, suppose this bad judgment call keeps happening all the time. I know you're a good person and I fed up, they tell me, but you know my heart. How much damage your heart gonna do? He's always got, you know my heart. Okay. So what happens when you have a person where it's not a flawed character, but the judgment call keeps happening? It therefore means that this person is in a position where they need some healing, they need some help. So what do you do to protect yourself? That's where boundaries and limitations come in. We have to be willing to give people boundaries until they get the help. And this is just to say somebody who's immediately thinking, well, I need to help them through. You are not a therapist. You are not a savior. You are not necessarily going to be the one that's going to help them navigate. No, some of you are, yes, but then some of you, because you might be too close, I want you to not try to play hero and decide that you are going to be their saving grace. So understand that. You're going to have to put boundaries, but putting boundaries just means you have to protect them until, or and protect yourself until they have healed. So you have to put boundaries and limit the certain type of interactions that have caused you to not trust them. So be mindful. Is it a character flaw, or is this person someone who had a bad moment or is in a bad season of their life? And then the last thing, which is the most crucial part, is this person willing to change and put in the work to earnestly rebuild trust? Now, if somebody is to be trusted, you have to see the progress. You have to see them actually try. On one level, I need you to understand that the change needs to be tied to more than you. If you are the only motivation for that person to change, I'm sorry to tell you that it is not going to stick. This person needs to come to the understanding that this was more than them breaking your trust, but there was an error in their behavior. So they need to see that the issue was somewhat not so much what they did to you, but the behavior was unacceptable. That type of operation is not what should be done for anybody. You understand? So it cannot be that the change or the work that they're putting in is only or solely for you. They need to want to be a better person. They need to want to have better moments. So yes, you want them to change for you, but more than anything, I want you to want them to change for themselves. Now, on the next side of that, that change needs to be guided. And something you have to agree upon together. I spoke about it in a podcast. You have to sit down and lay out the expectations because they need to know what that rebuilding of trust looks like for you. So you need to say, no, this is what this looks like. And on the flip side of that, I need you to give that person time and space to do that. You cannot now lord that over that person. So the slightest mistake, you see, you come back to your old self. How come you come? We're not doing that. You have to give people time and space to regain that trust. You have to pay attention to their progress, but also you can't hold them hostage to their mistake. That was something I had to learn. As much as it would have hurt, you cannot hold people hostage to their mistake if they are insincere, if they are sincere in changing and being better. So very simple to start off the new season again. Can trust really be rebuilt? The answer to that is yes. But there are three things I want you to think about and look out for. Is that person a pattern? Is it a pattern that is consistent in their life? If it is a pattern, then you need to think about then if that is something you want in your life. Two, is it that this person is flawed in their character or was it a bad moment or season of their life? It is a character flaw. Then you are in a position where you need to ask if there needs to be a cutoff or if it was a bad moment, reconciliation. And then three, are they willing to put in the change and work in earnestly to rebuild that foundation and rebuild the trust between you guys? So I know all of us are going to have different views. This is my take. Not everybody in our life can be cut off when we get hurt, but we have to be willing to address it. And then we have to be willing to give people a chance again to redeem themselves. So be safe out there. I know sometimes people can be treacherous out there, and I know that navigating people can be hard. But we want to make sure that the people we're surrounding ourselves with are people who need to be there because we are in community, we are living life together, and we want to love this life that we live. So thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you guys soon on Live a Life You Love.